Hello sailors and welcome to your next Sail Smart video. This week we're looking at how to rig a boat, changing it from this to look like this. Lots of different boats will have lots of different ways of rigging them up. Now we're going to be looking at an RS Terror as an example, but you can put most of this into practice with any other boat. So, first two things that I would always do with any boat. Number one is work out where the wind is coming from and point my boat in that direction. The wind in the corner of my garden is going a little bit in circles, but bear with us. Let's imagine it's coming from here and I'm pointing my boat in that direction. Step one done. Now step two, when I rig a boat, is always to do the rudder. I always put the rudder on. The reason for doing the rudder first is just in case you're already afloat, maybe you're on a mooring or a pontoon or something like that. If someone was to untie you or the knot comes undone and you float off, the first thing you've done is put your rudder on, and at least you'll have something to steer with. If you put the sails up, you're going to drift much faster and you won't have anything to steer with. And that's why we do rudder first. So we're going to put the rudder on, and if you haven't seen our boat parts video, take a little look at that because I will explain some of the technical jargon that I'm going to use around the boat. Anyway, tiller and tiller extension under the horse, and then we've got these two pins called pintles, and we've got two holes here, they're called gudgeons, two pins in the two holes, and our rudder will be on, something like this. Once we've got our rudder on, we're now going to need to put our sail onto our mast and put the whole thing up. Now, when you go to your local club or training centre, you'll probably find that the sail is wrapped around the mast and it's on a rack or somewhere in a shed, and that's great. Grab that and pop the mast up. If it's not, this is how you put the mast together and you put the sail onto the mast. A lot of masts nowadays will come into two sections. The bottom section and the top section. It's quite common for the top section to be smaller and go inside your bottom section. On a Terror, we've got this pin here in the mast, and that's because there's two sizes of sail that can go with this boat. We've got the sport sail, which is slightly smaller, so we need the pin in the bottom, and then we can slide the two ends together. Push them in until I feel the post touch the pin. Once we've done that, we slide this sleeve into the hole, wiggle that in, so it's a nice snug fit. Now, with some other boats, this slug here, this slightly thicker piece, will actually be riveted, it will be stuck to the mast. Now, because it's riveted, it'll actually have arrows that you need to line up top section and bottom section. And that is important that you line those up. In strong winds, something might break. Now we need to put the sail onto our mast, and in an ideal world, find a bit of grass, lay your sail out and do this in plenty of space. Don't quite have that today in the garden, so bear with how we're going to do this. But first we need to unravel the sail. And I need to find the foot. Remember, that's the bottom. So we've got this edge here, and that's the foot of our sail. And now I'm going to unravel it. And if this was a long piece of grass, it would go all the way away from it. And quite simply, we put the tube into the hole. Once we've got the sail all the way on, and we can check that by looking at the head of the sail to make sure we can see the mast right at the top, we then need to tie on our Cunningham. So this goes from here, downwards through the metal ring, through the cleat, and then once I've got it there, I'm going to use a stopper knot. So I'm going to choose a figure of 8 for this boat.
Check it out.
Now I need to roll this up so that we can step the mast. Now we've got the sail rolled up, we're going to have to do something that's quite tricky. We are going to have to stand this huge, long, heavy mast all the way up, vertical, lift it and put it into the boat. And this is definitely a time to get an instructor, a parent or an adult to help you. And in we go. Once it's in, it actually twists around and that's its sailing position. Right then guys, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the sail out and attach the boom. Now, once the sail is out, it's going to be flapping around and things are going to get a little bit fast and a little bit furious. So it's not the time to be chatting to a friend and having a laugh and a joke. Focus, get the sail sorted out, and then you can relax. It would be horrible to have the boom or the sail bump into you or hit someone, and that's not very cool. So, sail, unfurl, boom, onto the mast with the gooseneck, outhaul, and then we're going to put metal hook onto metal ring, pull the outhaul tight, kick her on, and then we'll pause. So here we go. Good job, team, stay with me. Now we need to attach our main sheet, and on a lot of boats this is already done. Quids in. But just in case it's not, this is how you would do it for a terror. So I'm going to put the rope through the ratchet on the deck, backwards through this block, goes through this little loop here, through this little loop here. It's going to go through the big block and down. It's then going to go through the block on the horse, and then it's going to tie on to this little nubbin here. So, it should look something like this. Now then, here's a little top tip from me, and this is pretty controversial. So, what knot do we use to tie our main sheet on? A lot of people would use a stopper knot, like a double overhand knot or a figure of 8.
Check it out.
Now that's great. That means it's going to pull tight, and when you pull your main sheet in, that's going to be fantastic, and you can control your sail. But these here are called our aft falls. That means the back of the boat, and it's the rope that goes up and down, falls from the boom. So what we don't want is for these two pieces of rope to get twisted. And if they're twisted, then they'll look like this. And that's terrible for our sailing. Pro sailors like you, we don't sail like this. And the reason that happened is because this knot here was able to twist. So, is there a better knot? Well, I would use a bowline.
Check it out.
So, I've tied my bowline, I've made sure that loop is as small as it could possibly go. I haven't twisted my main sheet, and when I sheet in, there's no loop, and I can go block to block. Now we are crossing the T's and dotting the I's and getting your boat ready to go afloat. Daggerboard is a pretty important device. Without it, we don't sail very well. So it's important to make sure it's attached. I've got a piece of elastic on mine, and this little loop here. We've got those attached, that's good. In our last video, we learnt that we avoid embarrassing moments by always checking our bung. That's good. Now time for a few odds and ends of other boats you might find. Obviously, a lot of boats that we sail have a jib, so 2 sails. And which sail do you put up first? Well, I would say the mainsail. The reason for that is we're trying to point at the wind. So if you put the mainsail up first, your boat will naturally try and point at the wind. Brilliant. Unfortunately, with a lot of modern boats, a lot of the rig tension, shrouds and the forestay, those wires, a lot of that is built up inside the jib. So if you put the mainsail up, the mast might fall down. And so there we would put the jib up first, and most manufacturers on those sorts of boats will put a furler on, so you can wrap up the jib so it doesn't bash about whilst you're trying to rig the boat up. Good job, sailors. That's our boat rigged. I'm ready to go sailing. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon for another Sail Smart video. See ya!